Welcome, Thrivers, to this week's episode of Women Thriving in Business podcast. I'm so excited to have with me Lesa Adeboye, who is the CEO of Alliance Group. And exciting that we're here in Atlanta. We're doing this interview in person. And so, Lesa, thank you for your hospitality and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nikki. So first of all, welcome to Atlanta, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we're going to just get right into it. Lesa, so this season is all about GovCon. So can you talk to us a bit about how you got started in GovCon and kind of what your story is?
So GovCon is government contracting. I am in federal government contracting specifically. I started as a subcontracts manager for one of the large defense contractors in government contracting. It was TRW was the name of the company, who was acquired by Northrop Grumman in 2001. So my initial role was subcontract administrator and small business advocate. So my responsibilities were identifying small business partners for Northrop Grumman. The federal government requires large business contractors to subcontract usually around 23 to 25% of any contract awarded. And so with that, we are charged with identifying viable small business partners and then mentoring them to a degree. A lot of small businesses are already prepared, but one of my responsibilities and my passion was the mentorship part of it as well. But we administer their performance on the contract. And then I was promoted over the years to the Director of Contracts and Procurement before I started my company in 2010. And my company is the Alliance Group.
So talk to us a bit about what made you start the Alliance Group.
To be honest, I don't like anybody telling me what to do. But I am a free spirit, and I had become what I consider a subject matter expert in the space of government contracting. And I would get calls constantly from our partner companies, whether they were large businesses or small businesses, for guidance. And so the light bulb went off, and I decided, okay, if I'm the person that people come to for guidance, then I could have my own company. And administering and advocating for small business, I learned some of the downfalls of small businesses and then also some of the things that you could do right. And so I decided to start my own business. And once I started my own business, I wanted to leverage what my expertise, which was the contract administration and the negotiations and whatnot, but identified that people were not buying that as much. And so I had to tap into, okay, so what are some of my other natural strengths or abilities? And so with that, I identified some capabilities that were marketable in the federal government space.
So just to go back to something you said earlier, you mentioned that 23 to 25% of government spending needs to be with small businesses.
Correct.
Can you just talk to us about the magnitude of that? So if I want to take a step back for those who may just be getting into government contracting and are interested in it, tell us why that's such a big deal.
Oh, it's a big deal. So the government spends billions of dollars in contracting every year. And so if you think about it, if a large percentage of that, let's say the 24% or 25%, has to be spent with small businesses, that's a significant chunk. In the small business pool, you have your subsets. So for example, for women-owned small businesses, which I am, the government is mandated to spend 5% as a government agency. And then that rolls down to large business prime contractors as well. So they have to develop a small business contracting plan, which they have to submit to the government, and they're held accountable to achieving those goals. So their plan then may be 25% to subcontract, and of that, you have 5% that has to go to women-owned. That's a regulation. You have 5% that has to go to, I'm not sure, veteran-owned. There's a percentage that has to go to veteran-owned. It may be 5% or it may be 3%. Don't hold me to the number, but there's a percentage that has to go to veteran-owned companies. There's a percentage that has to go to hub zone companies. And so those goals are set in stone, basically. There's a government form that has to be filled out by a prime contractor that has to be submitted with their proposal to the government. And then when they're awarded on a contract biannually, they have to submit their goal and their progress toward that goal.
Okay.
And there's a penalty if you don't satisfy that goal.
So what I'm hearing from you is that there's a lot of opportunity.
There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of money. And I remember when I started, I wondered, why does the government need a contract? I mean, the government could perform all of the work. What is the government's commitment to industry and the small business community to afford opportunity? And then from a real practical business side, when you have employees, there's overhead involved, right? And so even government employees cost the government money. And so there is a savings to contract. There's an incentive to contract.
So when you were starting the Alliance Group, so you said you didn't like to be told what to do, right?
That's true.
But going out and starting your own business is a challenge, right? So what was your biggest fear as you were leaving your good corporate job? What was your biggest fear as you were stepping into entrepreneurship?
So I am a person that doesn't really operate in fear, so I will say that. So I wasn't fearful about anything, but what I will say is I made a lot of mistakes. So coming out of corporate, I thought I knew everything. And so I had to learn that business is a whole nother beast. So I had to humble myself, but that took some time. And so I made a lot of mistakes. I learned a lot from the mistakes that I have made. For example, there are things that you hear that are cliche. I see as cliche, like relationships are important, make relationships. And it's all about the way you interpret relationship building or how you act on building relationships. So for a long time, my attitude was kind of surfacey about building relationships in the business community. But what I have learned, and it's taken a while, is bringing my authentic self to the table and making genuine relationships, doing business with the people that my personality resonates with. I will say all customers aren't good customers, all business is not good business. And that applies. You know, you don't want to be in uncomfortable situations. You don't want to be in situations or in business where you feel disrespected. But you also have a responsibility to really bring value to those relationships, those business relationships. So there's no reason to pretend like you know how to do something. It's just really being settled in who you are, bringing your authentic self, and really understanding what your core capabilities are, and marketing to those. But with that, then partnership has been great for me as well, because I've been able to get contracts that might not align with my core capabilities, but having genuine relationships with other companies, I've been able to leverage their capabilities and win contracts. So my business is management consulting, professional services, and visual communications, which is video and graphic design and written communication type work. But if you look at my portfolio of business, a lot of my business is in public health. So I have a lot of public health data analysts. That's not my background. My background was public policy. Kind of similar, but not. I have contracts where I have teams that provide HVAC work and landscaping work for one of the agencies. That's not my core capability. And I have another contract with a federal agency where we do publishing. And that is, I don't have a publishing shop, but I have partnerships where I've been able to leverage, and they're good partnerships, and they're partnerships that have existed for some years.
I love that, and I think that's how we initially met, was at a conference, and
That's right.
I think I came over, spoke, said hi, and you were like, hey, you know, like you were just really genuine and very interested, very welcoming, and just wanting to be helpful.
Right.
And so like that was what attracted me to you. And when you said like, here, give me a call, and you answer the phone, you answer my email, I really appreciate that. And I
learned that over, like, so you learn it because you believe that you got to act a certain way when you're in a business environment. You think you got to be stiff and stuffy and so technical and so brilliant when you go to conferences or to meetings. And I operated like that for years, and as a result, didn't get much out of those engagements. But the moment that I like kind of got it, the light bulb went off, and I got to a certain age where it's like, you know, you got to accept me as I am. Like, this is just what it is. But just kind of got into presenting myself as me. And then this concept of networking, I'm not really into networking, I'm into net weaving, which is what can I do for you? You know, extending myself and how can I help you? That kind of brings the conversation down to a point, and you're like really listening. You're like tuning in and listening to a person, you're sharing. Because a lot of times when we meet people, we're not listening. So listening to understand so that I can just get to know you as a person. And then with that, then I uncover like what you really do. Then I'm not afraid to ask you questions. Okay, I didn't really understand that. Or you're not feeling uncomfortable to ask me questions. So that was the thing. And once I started approaching business that way, just like the doors just opened up.
And how long would you say you had been in business before that kind of light bulb
long
went
time.
off?
A lot, like seriously, like no joke. It took me, if I'm honest, it took me a while. It took me about a little bit over 5 years to really get it. Because I think when you first start a business, you're just trying to adapt. Like I said, I came out of corporate. So I had to shed this whole I know everything. Corporate America, big corporations, like the company I worked for was one of the largest defense contractors. And so the way we did business was very different. It took me a couple of years to even shed that. They had an operating procedure. We got to do this and we got to do that. However, in my proposals, I would write to the fact that we're small business and we're agile and we're flexible, but I wasn't living that. I had to shed all of that and take on the attitude that I have in my personal life is where there's a will, there's a way. And in my personal life, I only like genuine relationships. So once I applied who I really am to that business, then I began to shed those kind of old ways of doing things. And then every year, a new strength will emerge. So what I do every year is decide what part of myself am I going to work on. So one year it was listening better. Another year it was forcing myself to go to more, because I'm a social person personally, I love to go out. But in business, not so much. So I pushed myself to look for the type of business engagement and environments that I want to go to, and then being committed to going to those things. So I picked organizations I wanted to be a member of, and when I picked those organizations, determined how I could give, how I could be involved. That's how we met through WHIP. I've been a member of WHIP since 2011, but I only got really involved the last 3 to 4 years. And the moment that I decided that I was going to give to WHIP and to the WHIP membership, that's when I was invited to join the Leadership Advisory Council. That's when I was invited to be the membership committee chair. That's when I was named Woman-Owned Business of the Year last year. And now I've been invited to be on the board. But it was only because I made the conscious decision to give.
So during your time in business, what would you say after kind of reorienting your approach to how you did business? What other challenges did you face? So what would you say was your biggest challenge?
The challenge we all have, money, right? Scaling. Like finances, how tapping into financial resources to scale and grow your business. That's one. But with that, then I had to sit down and say, okay, Lesa, scaling your business to have more money to do what? Basically in business, you need money to have employees or resources. So with that thought, just sitting and being still and being true to myself, I realized I really don't like that whole model of employees. I like partnership with consultants, going in as subject matter experts for projects and coming out. So I feel like if I wanted to be an employee and being engaged with a customer year after year after year, I can just go get a job. But that was just for me personally. And so with that, now I've gotten clear on that. And so my approach now, and it's how I started my business with consultants primarily, and the profit margins are much better. So the desire for money to scale. Really, if I went back to my original model of leveraging consultants and focused on management consulting, I get back to having enough resources really already. You see what I'm saying? So that's the thing, just being clear on what's comfortable.
So I'm hearing two challenges. One is around the financials in order to be able to scale, but then also really rethinking your business model over time.
That's right. No, that's exactly right. And not being afraid to pivot. So like I said, when I started, I was selling management, acquisition support services, contract management, because that's what I was, right? And nobody was really buying. So what I started leveraging then, I'm like, what does every agency buy in this professional services? Most contracts have project management. So then I started selling project management. I started selling administrative support services. And that's when I started getting work. Also being clear on what the customer or the agency buys. Where do they spend their money? Do I have those capabilities in-house? Yes, no. What partners of mine do? And so my model has changed based on that. Like I said, my contracts now are all over the place.
Got it.
Right, I have all kind of contracts, but what do I love? Now I really, really love the training aspect. We do training as well, like diversity, equity, and inclusion training, and we also do executive coaching, and we create custom training in a lot of different areas because now I have a team of instructional and relationships with subject matter experts in a lot of different spaces. That's what I love because it really aligns with my true nature, which I discovered. I've always known, but I hadn't defined. I'm a mother by nature. I love mothering people. So that is the thing, that finding out who I really am and bringing that to the table and then being able to apply that to my business has just been like, really. And so now I enjoy what I do.
So let's dig into that. When you say mothering, and I think there's some stigma around being feminine, being a woman in business, right? So when you say mothering, tell us what you mean by that.
I don't know how deep you want me to get into this. I mean, I'm hardcore serious about being a woman. That's why I am involved in Women Impacting Public Policy. I mentor women-owned businesses. I love women-owned businesses because I see it as an avenue to freedom. And I love my people, and I see it as an avenue to freedom. Entrepreneurship is an avenue to freedom. And so there are challenges we hear about being a woman in business, but where there's a will, there's a way. That goes back to my nature. And so for so long, I was so oblivious to that. I mean, I really made it a long time without really understanding the issues around being a woman in business, like seriously, totally oblivious to it. It was only when I brought my COO after 5 years of business, he was a male, and sent him out to do business development because I was like, I'm tired of like those meetings of business development. And I noticed that he could get contracts quicker than I could. The reception was different. If we went to meetings together, they would defer to him. But I never let that, like, that's their issue. It's not mine. You know, like, I really believe in myself. And I do really believe that where there's a will, there's a way. Like, I really, really do. And I do believe in the strength of women. And so with that, that's just my attitude. And so I think that's the thing that I push forward. So I really don't receive that I can't overcome whatever issues may face me based on somebody's isms. I'm not going to subscribe to that. I like to identify the issue. You got an issue. Okay, how do I overcome this issue? Or do I even want to be a part of this issue? So that's bringing your true, authentic self. The business is just a realm of your life. Let me keep it moving. If this is how you feel, I can imagine a horrendous relationship with you in business. You are not somebody that I maybe even respect in business. So let me take my little time and move it over here to this other box, because what is for me really is out there for me. And so that really bring that my real life experience into business seriously. I really do. I don't subscribe to what everybody's saying and whatever. Where there's a will, there's a way. Let me figure out what I want to do. Let me figure out the kind of people I want to work with. Let me figure out the kind of work I want to work with. And let me adjust myself accordingly. I'm going to be successful. And I believe all women will be successful. Just focus on your innate ability and your innate strength, because we are strong. And I really believe that.
And when you say mothering, is it the nurturing?
Yeah,
I don't put words in your mouth.
Let's talk about that. Yes. So I am a mother of 3 sons. They're all grown. I was a widow at 29, and I raised my 3 sons. And my 3 sons are phenomenal. They don't fit this. There's no stereotype. They're fine. And so not believing what is said about African Americans and African American boys and a woman can't raise children. I don't subscribe to any of that. So as a result, I've done well. My sons are all doing well. But that is one part of my life I absolutely love. So you know, when they tell you that if you tap into what your true gifts are, that's where your success is. Didn't understand that for a long time. And I think all of us kind of think, like, when they say that, what do they mean? You know if you always grew up and wanted to be a doctor, that's kind of clear cut. If you always wanted to be a firefighter. But like when you don't have this kind of desire or education in something really technical and clearly defined, it's kind of hard to figure out, like, what is that thing bringing my true nature to whatever, and that's where I'm going to be successful. So over the years of pondering, and that's the thing, every year, January, it's like, okay, Lesa, where are we? I realized the thing I absolutely love and have loved, and I felt like I've been really successful at, has been being a mother. And then I started looking at how I interact with my friends and family. Like, I really love my friends. And I'm the friend that people call for guidance and advice, not about business, about anything. And I realized I'm the one that's always listening, and I'm not really the one asking for anything, right? And I don't have a problem with that. In fact, I'm good with it. I'm like, okay. So I have a nurturing spirit. Well, a mother, if you look at the definition of mother, what is that? And so a mother is someone who nurtures, who advises, who produces, who manifests. And so now so mothering made it clear to me that when I'm even interacting with anybody, like you said, your experience with me at the conference, that's what I'm there for. I want people to feel like I'm open and warm. I want people to talk to me. I want to listen, and I want to help them. And then I want to continue the relationship in a very genuine way, whether it's business or not business, because I found the benefit of having a tribe of girlfriends and women, whether it's personal or in business, has been a big blessing for me.
I'm definitely going to say amen to that.
Yeah.
I have a group of girlfriends. During the pandemic, we started a weekly Zoom.
Okay.
And we've kept it up.
That's right.
And it became more than just the Zoom, right? It became more than just that weekly meeting. It became so many things that we were able to celebrate and push each other and, be like,
whatever it is,
whatever it is. And I think we grow out of that. So if you think about I think most of us when we're younger, we had that group of girlfriends, and you'd be talking about grades or a crush or something like
Whatever.
that, like whatever it was. And I think as we get older and you start families, like you just grow out
Yeah.
of that. It was just a great reminder of how important it is to have your group of girlfriends.
It's so important, and we do grow. Like so, and then there's nothing wrong with you may have had a set of girlfriends at this point, and you may evolve. Not that anything has happened, but life is about change and growth anyway. So I have girlfriends that I had when I was younger. I have girlfriends at different stages of my life. We don't talk to each other necessarily every day. Some of the older friends, I mean, I make new girlfriends all the time, every day. If you look at my social media, my Instagram specifically, and you see my group of girlfriends, you're going to see a whole bunch of different groups of girlfriends. But there is nothing wrong with that, because you get and you give, different
Exactly.
things at different stages of your life. And just
Exactly.
because you may have transitioned out of one relationship is not a negative, and it's not a negative connotation on the relationship between women. Because there's some people who are like, oh, but they say, oh, I won't mess around. No, it's not that. It's like an evolution. Life is about changes, and you need different people in your life at different times. What do they say, a
Right.
season for
Season,
yeah, there's
reason, season,
seasons,
life,
reasons,
huh?
and seasons. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But
So I love what you said about that net weaving, because I think that goes back to even as it's like a web, right? Almost like that web, and like some people are around forever. Like there's friends that I have, like I might not talk to them for a year or 2, but I know if I pick up that phone, they're going to be there when I need
That's
them.
right.
And I think that's important for us to remember, not only in our lives, but also in business
right.
as well. And going back to your point of maybe it doesn't turn into business right now.
That's right.
But you developed a relationship.
That is so true. I met a lady, I guess it's been about 5 years ago, and we always make it a point. We may have lunch together maybe once a year, maybe twice a year at the most. And we talk to each other. At first, for me, during that phase where when the light bulb hadn't come on yet, I used to think it was really pretentious to ask people what they do. But once I evolved into a place where I want to give, I'm giving, then it was important for me to know what people do, so that if an opportunity came, I could give. So I met her a couple of years ago, and she is into medical technology. She had developed this prototype. She had developed this technology that's phenomenal. And she explained it to me, and we've had lunch or dinner a couple of times, and we continue to kind of talk about it. And an opportunity, so that's 5 years ago. Just this week, I spoke to another colleague that I had known for years, and then we hadn't talked for a long time, and she called me when she moved to a new company. We connected, and she is in a med tech. She's an executive with a med tech organization, and they are looking for companies who have some innovations. So they're the type who's going to find a VC, grant opportunities, all of that. And so just this morning, I connected the two of them together. But these are relationships. I hadn't talked to either one of these ladies. I hadn't talked to in like 4 or 5 years.
I love that. So Lesa, what has been your greatest accomplishment during your time in business?
Being free. Being able to sustain a business for 13 years now, and just being free because of that.
So what does free mean to you?
I can wake up when I want to. Like I can, honestly, I can wake up when I want to. I can be where I want to be. I don't have to answer to anybody, because like I said from the beginning, I never liked anybody telling me what to do. So just having that freedom to spend time with my family, to take a nap. Instead of lunches, I take a nap every day, right?
I love it.
Yeah, right. Working from wherever I wanted to. And then, so that's what I like during the COVID period. I was just really happy for other people to get that opportunity to see what it's like to work remotely, and to be able to kind of have your day to yourself to a degree. To be able to go to the grocery store at 11 o'clock in the morning, or take a nap if you want to, or go to your kid's function, or be in the car and take a meeting, but still be there for your child's practice or something. So that's the thing, that freedom, that's what a lot of people got a chance to experience for the first time. Not being on the highway for hours, going back and forth. So that's what this business has been about for me, and is about for me.
I love it. I love it. So you talked a bit about your involvement with women in public policy. So, talk to us a bit about why advocacy is important and how that has impacted your business.
Okay. So Women Impacting Public Policy, or WIP, which is the acronym, was established 22 years ago, I believe now. And it is a nonpartisan organization headquartered in Washington, D.C., whose sole focus is to influence policy in a positive way for women-owned small businesses. So WIP was very instrumental in crafting the legislation that resulted in the Women-Owned Set-Aside program in the federal government space. So the Women-Owned Set-Aside program, a regulation, one of the small business regulation, where a government agency can set aside a contract for a woman-owned business strictly. So it can be competitive between multiple women. But what you're doing there is narrowing the playing field and increasing the opportunity for success and award. So WIP was very, very instrumental in that and continues to be instrumental in promoting and supporting policy for women-owned small business.
And so as you think about, you mentioned starting to volunteer more and being more engaged with the organization, and I know there's a number of other organizations that you're engaged with as well. How has that helped your business? Because, I think a lot of small business owners may be thinking, I'm busy doing the work.
That's right.
So can you talk to us a bit about why being engaged with these industry organizations it is important and can help you actually be successful in business?
Right. So I'm not a big joiner, so I will say that. So there are only a few organizations that I'm a member of. I'm joined them thoughtfully, right? So I joined WIP in 2011 and have maintained that relationship because I see that they actually do add value for women-owned small businesses as it relates to policy. If I need WIP to support any kind of policy initiative here locally, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. So if there's anything I need support on, whether it's reaching out to my legislator, having a meeting, or writing up a policy concern or a concern, WIP is going to provide that support to me to help me access that resource and provide whatever content I need to that resource. That's a benefit for that organization. And then it is a group, it's a national organization of women business owners, and the women business owners are from the multi-million-dollar to the entry level. The women are from all type of backgrounds and in all type of industry. They're not all just GovCon. We have those who are in the private sector as well. And so if I'm looking to partner, if I have an opportunity that comes up and I need a partner, I can tap into my WIP sisterhood to find somebody to partner with. And just through participating in events and going to, we have in-person and virtual events, but building that familiarity and those relationships makes sense when I'm looking for a partner. I've got somebody that I know and trust, which is important in partnership. So it serves me, it adds value for me.
I love that. You mentioned before the kind of the breadth of contracts that you have. As you were starting out and moving beyond kind of acquisition support, how did you make that leap to go beyond what was within your personal sphere of knowledge to say, yes, I can do these other contracts, and even thinking about how you develop those partnerships to say, well, I can't do this, but I'm going to go after this contract anyway, and I've developed relationships over here. So how did you make that kind of leap?
How did it happen? So it's just about having genuine relationships and finding out what people do. So let's say, for example, now the benefit I had is that I'd been in the federal government contracting space for so long, and I was a contract professional, so I understood contracts. I understood the cycle of procurement, proposal, the whole proposal, response, award, performance, all of that. I understood that cycle. So that did help me a lot. And that's information I like to share with other people. But then I started thinking, okay, so like I said, I wanted to go after PM work after I saw that they weren't buying as much acquisition support work. I'm not a PMP, I'm not a certified, so where there's a will, there's a way. So, people are like, oh, you got to be this, you got to have this. You don't have to, where there's a will, there is a way, right? So there are lots of contracts that come out that have a line item, whether it's a line item written or not. Every project has to have project manager. It just does. Whether it's the direct bill to that customer or it's part of your indirects, meaning it's embedded in your cost for your performance. So I'm like, okay, I can project manage. I'm not a certified PMP, but I didn't let that stop me. Right. I understood project management, and if I didn't, let me go Google and figure it out. Let me go get the book PM for Dummies or whatever. And then let me tap into some of my friendships and people that I know that are project managers. And so I was able to provide opportunities. Some of my friends just had small consulting firms where they just did project management. So I could go after a project management contract because I've got the relationship with the government. Come on, girl, let's do this contract. I need you to be the project manager for this. Bring them on board. What's your rate? She tells me her rate is $10. I mark it up to $15 and I build a government. And so I make $5 just sitting back. So that was the thing. I just started learning what people do. And then when I found opportunities or an opportunity came to me, then I would tap into the people I know. Are you interested in this contract? And so and we would partner. We'd write the proposal. They would have to write their technical piece because you understand project management, girl, write this part. I'm going to write the whole corporate capabilities and any other needs Whatever resources I find in those areas, they're going to write to that. We're going to package it up, submit it, and voila.
So it was really, like you said, where there's a will, there's a way. There's an opportunity, and I can put together the team in order to make this happen.
But you need to make sure that you're net weaving, not like going after people. What can you give me? Give me. What it's like? What can I do for you? Like genuinely, what do you do? What can I do for you? Let's get to know each other better. I'll share what I do. You share with me, and if I see an opportunity that you could perform or that could help you, then I'm going to let you know and then be sincere about it. I follow up with people and just say, how you doing? All the time. And I'm legitimately interested. What you doing, girl? How's your family? Just a little text and that's it. That's how you keep that relationship going. Or this event's going on, I'm going to send this to you, you may be interested in coming. So that's the thing. Like I follow your podcast. I follow that. I just met you at a conference. We talked, we had a genuine conversation. And I follow you. I support you. And when you reach out to me, I respond. And when I reach out to you, you do too.
Right.
That doesn't take a whole lot.
You're right.
So,
it does not.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, and I always talk about that self-accountability is extremely important, right? And so just being responsible and understand you give what you get what you give.
I love that. So what are some words of wisdom, words of advice that you would have for folks who are either interested in GovCon or who are starting in GovCon, but they really want the key to being successful?
All right, so being curious is the one thing, and self-responsibility and accountability. So step one is identifying what level of government you want to do business. Do you want contracts at the local level, state level, or federal level? Then once you make that determination, if it's your city level or your county level, go to their website. Just Google. I live in the city of Atlanta, so all I'm going to do is go Google City of Atlanta doing business with, or City of Atlanta procurement. Then it's going to take me to the website and then read. Then let's say if I wanted to go to, I live in the county of Fulton County. I want to do business with Fulton County. I want to Google Fulton County doing business with Fulton County procurement. And then I'm going to go to that website and I'm going to read. And whatever it tells me to do, I am going to do. And you can do it too. That's a whole nother thing. People believe they got to pay thousands of dollars for somebody to do it. Now, I understand if your time is limited and you don't feel like doing it. But most of registering with these different agencies is simple. And so if you can do it, because it's going to give you more understanding just to do it. Go in, read what they need you to do, fill out all the little paperwork, follow the instructions, submit it. If it's the federal level has a database for anybody who wants to do business at the federal level. You must register at sam.gov. But let's take a step back. At the federal level, you have the Small Business Administration, SBA, which was established to support the small business community. That's why it's called a Small Business Administration. And it's our tax dollars paying for this. Okay, that's another big thing for me. Go to their website and they will tell you, they have it right there. And you can look in their little search box and say, doing business with the government. You can say woman-owned business. You can put anything in that search box. It's going to take you to the page. That's going to give you a step-by-step what you need to do business with the federal government. And one of those guidance, because I went ahead, one of those guidance is to register in sam.gov. Anybody who does business with the federal government must be registered in that database. That is the federal government's database for business partners, whether you're large or small. Every company, whether it's Lockheed, Deloitte, or you, has to register in that database. And that database now also has all of the government contracting opportunities in it. So it's really now a one-stop shop for anybody who wants to do business in the federal government. That website has a lot of information. However, there'll be some things that you see there that you really don't understand, right? And that's fine. So then you want to identify additional resources to get a little bit more granular and a little bit more understanding. So that is even a benefit of partnering with a company that's been there before. Partnership is key. Relationship building is key, period. It really is. That we get back to that. Authentic relationships is key.
So just to recap some of the advice is being curious, having that self-responsibility. One is determining what level of government that you want to work with, and then going out and looking for the opportunities and paying attention. Read, follow the instructions, and then finding other resources, whether they be a plethora of government resources, whether it be through the SBA or partnering with other businesses. So I hear in that, don't be afraid to ask for help.
There are no dumb questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There are consultants out there. I partner and mentor companies all day, every day, all the time. It's my passion. It's part of that mothering. And so you reach out to people who've been in the industry. You go to events like they have, the SBA has events all the time. And so if you look on their website, you'll see some small business and industry and information events. Just start being curious, attend, get to know people, talk, tell people what you're trying to do, and people will point you in a direction. You'll be surprised how many people's mama or cousin or their best friend or soror is in that space and can give you some guidance and at least point you in the right direction. So open your mouth.
I love it. I love it. So, Lesa, there's two questions I always ask everyone that comes onto the podcast.
Okay.
So the first of them is, what are one or two songs that are on your power playlist and why?
I can't say no. On my power playlist. So I'm really into Anna Piano right now. So I can't even name one song. And Anna Piano saved me from ratchet trap music, okay? Because I absolutely love rap. I'm from Atlanta. I absolutely love rap music so much. So anything out of Africa, I'm absolutely loving right now. But the other day, I was listening to some symphonic music, a Bach piece, because I played violin when I was in the elementary school and high school. So it just depends on the mood and, in the mood. But music does make me happy, so
Okay.
I go all over the place.
And what is one book that has helped you thrive in business?
You already know. The 4 Agreements has helped me thrive in everything. It really is. And the 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word, don't take things personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And that's a book that I read over and over and over again. In fact, I will wake up in the morning and just open to a page and read, and it gives me exactly what I need. But if you live by those basic principles, like I even have 4 bracelets that a girlfriend gave me, and as I put each one on, I say each one of the agreements, and it just reminds me. So that's my book of all time.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we will share that information in the show notes. And where can people find you if they want to reach out or learn more?
You can reach me, my email address, at LESA, that's Lesa, at allianceatl.com. And that's ALLIANCEATL.com.
Well, Lesa, we will include that information in the show notes, and also if you have LinkedIn and the website, we'll include that
about
as
LinkedIn,
well.
please, yeah. And I'm on LinkedIn as Lesa Adeboye, and it'll be in the show notes how to spell that.
Exactly.
LESA, last name ADEBOYE on LinkedIn. And I'm on Instagram as well.
Ooh.
I love Instagram as LESACEO.
Perfect. We will include that in the show notes. Well, Lesa, it has been an absolute
Always.
pleasure.
I always enjoy talking with you.
Thank you for your time today, and I'm looking forward to see what else comes forward for Alliance Group.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
everyone.